Are you nervous?
No.
I have a very serious question to ask you before we start.
Oh, okay.
Do you consider yourself half black and half amazing? Welcome, everybody. We are here with the incredible Authenic Quis. I told you I was doing my own sound effects. You didn't even trust me to have a soundboard. I think this is my first time podding in years, and you just made me come in like raw dogging. That's crazy.
I think you have to start from your humble beginnings.
My humble beginnings?
Yeah. You haven't been pod mommy in a while, yo.
Let's go back to the first question. Mm-hmm. Do you think yourself as half black and half amazing?
If I'm being honest, there was a point where I thought of myself as half black, half amazing. Mm-hmm. Now I'm just fully black and fully amazing.
Okay.
I have grown.
We love the cover up. I love it. The cleanup.
Yeah.
It'll be a Pope style. I love it.
Listen, I'm here, man.
I'm crying. Quis, it's wonderful to sit with you today.
Likewise.
Ahead of your new project, It's Weird Outside. Debuting mid-August, because you won't let me say early fall. For whatever reason.
We're not saying early fall. It'll be out before then. There's a couple of touch-ups and some things that need to happen, but...
I think that's the wildest thing ever. But what? People need to know. Like, they want a date.
I would say August 35th, around 8 p.m.
You guys,
Y'all got that.
I've tried to come through.
Not for sure. It'll be out in August. So I have one more studio session scheduled. What's today? Today's the 26th of July, I think.
Yeah.
So for this upcoming Thursday, which will be August 1st, and the only thing that's there, you are the only person outside of myself and Tay, who's like really heard this thing all the way through. I pushed the last couple of sessions to really try to get those songs mixed really for you, because I wanted you to be able to get the closest version of my vision completed to listen to before we did the sit down. Coincidentally, there's a voice note that ends the album. It's the only voice note that got completed out of the several that need to be put on there. That's on there as of right now. And that's what I'm waiting for, to put the rest of the voice notes on. So this Thursday, I will be in the studio at 11 p.m., I believe, is the start time, for 2 to 4 hours adding voice notes. But all the raps, all that stuff is done. Yeah. There's still some unfinished songs, but those are for the next, and I guess we'll get into this in the conversation at some point, but that's for the next project. But everything here now is done.
Now, in terms of how you feel going into this is your 4th studio album? No? This is your 5th studio album.
My favorite, number 5.
That's incredible. And
that's the intro, Project 5.
That's fresh off of the Revenge of the Bulls series.
Kind of.
Yeah,
it's so funny how, so Revenge of the Bull, there was supposed to be a Revenge of the Bulls. Did we have this conversation? How do you know this?
I'm an interviewer. No!
So there was a time when, so I dropped Revenge of the Bull in 2018, I want to say. I think that's when I dropped it. There was a time that it was supposed to be Revenge of the Bull, Return of the Bull, Rise of the Bulls. Like, I had like a whole little setup thing that I have not told many people. So I'm wondering how you know that for real. And we had the conversation. Look, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And I was in the process of starting the next one, but that ended up becoming Heavy as the Head, which was the last project, the 4th one, which I don't know how I feel yet about this one. I feel like every time I drop, and I can honestly say this, every time that I've dropped a project, I've known that it's better than the previous project. So Revenge of the Bull came at a time that I was in a big, all my music always comes at a time when I'm transitioning, but a time where I was really frustrated and angry and I wanted revenge because of a record label situation that I was in where I really thought my life was about to change. And it didn't. so because of a lot of stupid reasons that I won't get into necessarily right now. But long story less long, that influenced a lot of that project, and I was still riding off of that. And 2021, I want to say, is when I dropped Heavy as the Head, December of 2021. And that came off of the heels of when I first started writing that project. The first song I wrote on that was Black Joy. And I remember I wrote that in February, and recorded it in February, right before the pandemic hit. And that kind of like changed a lot of the course of everybody's lives in general, not just musically, but just everything that was going on. So that kind of shaped that project of what I was feeling during that time, a little bit before the pandemic as well as during the pandemic. George Floyd happened, Sandra Bland happened, like all these terrible things happened. So there was like a lot of that on that album, and that kind of changed the direction of the Revenge of the Bull series, or Bull series that it was supposed to be. I still may go back to that one day because I love talking about how Mataris shoot is littered in this album as well. But yeah, that's how we ended up here. So Heavy is the Head is like a cousin of that series, kind of, because it's like a spinoff. And then now we're here. It's Weird Outside.
we love the casual plug.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the situation you've experienced with breaking through the industry. How do you feel? You talk a lot about this on this project, and I'm sure that your fans will be very excited to hear that story. How do you feel that translated into the crafting of this project, It's Weird Outside? And how do you, now looking back on how that situation molded you into having these revelations on this album, do you think that it was actually something that built you into who you are today, or do you still feel resentment or anger about it?
It's a good question.
You want me to get those tissues?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. I ain't
We'll
gonna
get there.
cry yet. No thug tears yet. It's not resentment. It's no longer anger. There are days of disappointment and just kind of like, excuse me, sadness at certain points where I just see certain things or see certain people and just what I know we could have created and what the vision should have been and the strategy to kind of achieve that vision. Sometimes like you'll get with people and you all think we all have the same common goal, and you find out the hard way we don't. Or maybe we have the same common goal, but we have different ways or different thinking of how to get there. And with that situation that happened, there was 4 individuals involved, including myself, and 3 of us had the same common goal. 2 of us had the same idea of how to get there. One of us was a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Gullible, novice, something in that area. Had good intentions, but was easily persuaded by a 4th person who did not have the same common goal as us. And I noticed it. And there were some things that I noticed that wasn't right. And I think because I was a little bit younger, I was the youngest person out of the 4 individuals. They were supposed to be kind of leading. And my job was just mostly be the artist, like focus on the creative process. But there was things that I noticed and I spoke up about it, and it kind of got pushed to the side, and I should have advocated more for myself and for other people who were involved in the situation. And one of the people that I trusted the most, without getting into too much detail, he had some family issues going on, and his father was sick, and he was focused on being a man and being a good son and taking care of his family. So I'll never fault him for that. But in the process of him doing that, the person with the bad intentions or the different intentions per se came in and distracted and disrupted some things, which I saw happening before it even happened. And so I think that to bring it back to your question and not go on too long of a tangent, where the change happens is I have to find a balance of what loyalty is, right? So I knew something was wrong. I said something was wrong, but I left it at that, and I should have done more for myself. So if there's any anger left in a situation, it's more from me to me, because I should have done more for me in that moment, the way that everybody else was worried about themselves and their loved ones. And I feel like my loyalty to the situation and to the people, though, sacrificed a lot of my progression and a lot of my time. Everybody's time, but mine mostly is what I care about. And that fucking sucks.
And that's real. And I think that your story echoes a lot of the horror stories we hear about the industry and making music. Everyone goes into it with pure intentions and because they love to create art and do this craft. And it's like so many people are taken advantage of. And then that art becomes tainted. But the beautiful thing, I think, from listening to It's Weird Outside, for me as a listener and as a fan of yours, is how you transmuted that energy and almost alchemized it to say something positive to your audience. And a lot of times you feel as though on the album, like you're talking to you, like you're having personal conversation to yourself, but in this arena of having people or artists often talk about, man, I was in this deal and they just like completely like screwed me over, or people giving up on their dreams in this industry because they were taken advantage of. You decided that this wasn't the end of the road for you. So what really motivated you to like push through that moment, especially being so close to an opportunity that could have changed your life?
I think because I'm a real artist, real rapper, real MC, however you want to categorize it. Like, I fell in love. It's so cliche to say I fell in love with hip hop, but I fell in love with hip hop at
You married when you were 5 years old.
Probably maybe like around 6 or 7. I wrote my first verse at 11. It was trash, by the way, but we won't go there. But I performed it at the Strand Theater in front of
that's a piece of Boston history.
But it was trash, and dude, it was just so bad. We wrote these raps. I'm not gonna tell too much of this story because it's embarrassing, and I don't know what these other 3 gentlemen are doing with their lives now. I haven't seen them since elementary. But I was in a little rap group.
What was the name?
We called ourselves Hype 4. The verse rap was about. So shouts to Officer Grubbs. If you're from the Boston area, you should know who Grubbs is. DARE program, great program. He put together the show and was gathering different talent or whatever. So we decided we were going to do this talent show he's putting together. And it's at the Strand. And they picked different themes for us to write about. I'm in 4th or 5th grade. The freaking rap was about why smoking cigarettes is bad for you.
No, you didn't.
It's my first verse.
You were a DARE puppet. My God. Shout out to DARE. Shout out to all the work that you've done for kids in the community. But that was wrong of you.
I'm not going to embarrass myself, but I do remember those opening lines. I'll tell you off camera. That one.
That's so unfair to a lot of people. That's crazy. We are here for a story time. We're here to learn more about Quis, about you.
No. There's more about me now. You don't need to know. That was a child.
That's fair.
But yeah, so that was the first thing, and it was horrible. We were so focused on writing the verses or whatever. We didn't realize until right before we got on stage for the performance. We had rehearsed and everything. We didn't realize until we got on stage before the performance, we had no beat. We had never rapped to a beat. The whole time we were rehearsing was acapella. So Grubbs, I believe, played a random beat for us that I'm sure we were all over and not in pocket, and it was trash. It was terrible. But
I almost said the name of a famous artist.
Don't do that. But what was funny about it is everybody, the crowd was mad supportive. It was a bunch of other kids, right? So they were just down for it or whatever. And so in front of 600-700 people, we rocked that stage. And I fell in love with that feeling. And it went from writing down I used to write down my favorite verses for my favorite artists or favorite songs that I love to memorize them quicker so I can sing along with them. So I would test myself to see how well I knew the song. And then after that point, it was all right, start writing your own whatever. And then my raps were trash because even when they were ill, they were trash because all I was rapping about was how ill I was. So, but what else are you gonna rap about at that age or whatever, 6th, 7th grade? You ain't lived life, you ain't really seen nothing or whatever. So I would just rap about how dope I was and what made me dope, and I still do some of that now.
And absolutely.
But it's in a better way, like less lifestyle. I'm more lifestyle now, and not just I spit like venom, like whatever, like.
I'm crying.
It's less Eminem. Eminem does a lot of that. Shouts to Eminem. I love Eminem.
I was going to say, don't ruin your industry connects with this interview,
there is no
please.
industry connects. There is no industry connects. No, but like, M still does a lot of that metaphorical, like, how, and it's dope the way that he does it. I was doing it in a much less dope way back then. That's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, that was that. I can't remember what your question was. I don't know if I answered it or not.
You went down the road that I was trying to go down. But bringing up you being a part of the Strand Theater, that incredible legacy, how much that means to Boston. You were born and raised in Roxbury, one of the most interesting neighborhoods to live in Boston. How do you feel that shaped you, and how does that, during your,
excuse me,
during It's Weird Outside, you talk a lot about being faced with two opportunities, two kind of personalities that maybe a lot of young Black men can relate to. It's either being the guy who's, a little scammy, a little gangster, but also like being the person on the straight and narrow who understands like who he means to other people, what he means to other people, and that kind of value that you place on yourself and in the community. Do you feel like growing up in Boston, especially growing up in a neighborhood like Roxbury, which if we keep it a buck, is a hard neighborhood, it's a tough neighborhood to grow up to. I mean, every rapper has that story, but for you, it's reality. You had two choices when you left the front door, and that's whether to engage in the street or do the right thing, and you chose to be more in the community and be more of a pillar in the community. How has that reflected in your music? Because you do talk your shit.
Yeah. I think that Andre 3000 said it, one of my favorite bars from him, and I think it's like the hardest opening line ever. It's on the Throw Some D's remix.
Classic song.
Ain't a hood nigga, but a nigga from the hood. See, mama stayed on me, so I turned out pretty good. That sums up my life, I feel like.
Yeah.
Literally, I remember, so specifically, and I can give addresses now because nobody lives in that area anymore, so...
Wild.
Stop by if you want. But so I grew up in Roxbury on Moreland and Copeland. Moreland Street, to give some perspective, on one end, at the end of the street, is Blue Hill Ave. Mm-hmm. On the other end of Moreland Street is Warren Street, particularly right near the Roxbury Boys and Girls Club, right before you get to Dudley. And those are the opposites of those streets. I also lived on Copeland Street, which is a street that's off of Warren. And at the bottom of Copeland Street is, at the bottom of Copeland Street is Moreland Street, a street that's off of Moreland, but it's also off of Warren. At the top of Copeland is Warren Street. And as soon as you get to the top of Copeland Street, the first thing you're seeing is Warren Gardens, just to give a little bit of perspective. So with that being said, and that being a neighborhood that I occupied like a good chunk of my life, I remember one of my first memories walking up Copeland Street. I had to be like 4 or 5 years old. Me and my mom are walking up the street, going wherever we're going. We run into one of my cousins or our cousins, and him and my mom are talking, whatever. I'm standing there. I'm staring at his chest, and he has this really dope sweater on, and he has this dope chain on, and I'm admiring his stuff or whatever. So he peeps me noticing it, and he goes, "Yo, what's up, little cuz? Yo, you like my shirt? You like my chain?" I'm like, yeah, all eager. And he's just like, "When you get older, you come work for me. You can dress just like me and have stuff so just like this."
It started there.
And my mom slapped the shit out of him.
Shout out to mama. Okay, I know that's right.
That's one of my earliest memories. I don't know if I would have remembered that if she didn't slap him at the end, but core memory. Shouts to Inside Out. But I would say that it stuck with me because to me, you see adults and you want to do stuff that adults do, right? Yo, my mom leaves the house, she has a job. My nana has a job, dad has a job. Like everybody's leaving, they have jobs, right? So I'm thinking, oh, why would you get mad? He wanted to offer me a job. I want to have a job when I grow up, whatever it was, whatever. But she slapped him, cursed him out. Yo, don't ever talk to me and my son like that. He'll never be out here with you, whatever. And I didn't know what all that meant. And so as she's pulling me away or whatever, we go to wherever we're going. And she just keeps saying to me, you'll never be like that. That's not the way to get stuff, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't even fully comprehend what she was talking about. But obviously, you grow up and you see that. But so with memories like that, so my mom had me when she was pregnant with me at 15, had me at 16. My dad was 17 when I was born. So he's a year older than her. So teenage pregnancy, little fast asses, should have been doing their homework. They was doing each other. Shouts to them though. I'm Authenic Quis. It is what it is.
Y'all gonna get the real during this interview.
So I say all that to say though, like, both very good people, but still young, still maturing, didn't stay together, had stuff to figure out. And I had good role models in them. And even with my dad, like our relationship was a little bit strained when I was younger for many reasons. But he's always been a stand-up good dude. And again, just them being immature and not being able to figure stuff out just had that effect. That's neither here nor there. But I say that to say there was stuff that I could relate to as far as my homeboys and just people I was chilling with around the way. But there were certain parts where it was just like, I can relate to you up until this line. At this part, you're reacting to the similar situation that we had in this direction. I'm going to go in this direction. And that's just kind of where it stood. Like, I never felt like peer pressure was never real to me. I know it exists. I know it's a real thing. But, like, I was the person, like, in high school, we would skip school. And I would skip. We would go to my boy E's house. And we'd all be on his back porch, be like 5, 6 of us or whatever, our little clique. And they would all be smoking weed. I never smoked. So they would always try to get me to smoke weed. I'm like, nah, nigga, I'm good. I don't want to smoke. I don't want to smoke. Like, yo, what the fuck you skip school for then if you didn't want to, like... Nigga, because I didn't want to be in class.
They came for you.
Not because I didn't want to be high. I find it weird that you really want me to smoke something that I am not putting in on. You're getting no money from me. I'm not contributing. Why are you so passionate about me putting my lips where your lips have just been? That's weird, bro. That was my attitude.
It's weird also.
That was the type of shit that I was saving.
I love how the fact how we started this interview saying you wrote a rap for Dare and you really was one of them kids that did not smoke weed.
No, I have had weed.
Wow.
But
scratch everything I said. Sorry, guys.
No, but as an adult.
You almost had one, Dare. You almost had one.
No, sorry. No, but like back then it was just never the shit that I was into. My thing was I had enough, I think just also at a young age, I had a lot of family members, cousins and aunts and uncles and then different people around the way that we knew from back in the day that as I got older, I was seeing what they were looking like and what they were doing. So I've always been very attentive and paid attention to my environment. So for me, it was just like, all right, well, I already have habits that I like. Habits.
Okay, we get it.
So it's just like, I don't need any new habits. That all my habits make me look great. All my habits make me look great. I'm sorry. It's always been that way. Y'all habits don't work so well for you. It might be cool for a little moment. Some of y'all look a little crazy right now.
Keith, that's so judgmental.
That's not judgmental. That's reality. That's reality. Now, and it's no judgment. It's love. We choose our things, right?
I agree.
So with that being said, it was just like, dude, I'm good. Like when I feel like doing, and the more you hype something up to me, I gotta want to do it. Like I gotta want to do it on my own. And again, it's like that perfect example I was just saying. Like I can relate to you up to this point. Nigga, none of us wanted to be in class. None of us wanted to be sitting in Dorchester High. We did not. So we left. We went on the back porch. I went on my side because, nigga, I don't want your weed in my clothes. I still got to go to work after this because I had an after-school job. I was employed since I was old enough to be employed. So it was like, dude, and nigga, you work with me. Don't smoke too much. Make sure you change. Like, whatever. To make sure he kept his job. He'll tell you. And that was that. And shouts to E, and that's why me and E are brothers to this day, because E was the only one of them. Like, nigga, leave him. If you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. He never tried to force me to do anything he wanted. I didn't want to do. So that was that. I would write my raps on the other side of the corner, or if we snuck over and it was girls, I leave school for girls and for fun activities. I don't leave it to smoke. Now, that's a fun activity for some people, but that's never, even now, I'd much rather an edible than like the whole process of smoking or whatever. But like, it is what it is. Same thing with like drinking and all that. I was having this conversation with Jeff earlier. But yeah, so for me, just growing up for me, like I've always been my own person. I'm a Taurus. I'm stubborn. So you hype some shit to me, and you try to get me. The more you try to get me to do some shit, the less I want to do it. So that's always been me. And then my music just reflects me. Get away from me. Like those, like at least with this album, that it's weird outside because you niggas is weird, and I don't want to be next to you. I do want to go outside and catch a vibe. I don't want to be outside with all of you niggas. And that's kind of an extension even off of the 2020 year. Who did I see during the pandemic?
You saw me, which is a miracle left by the most divine, the Most High. Tay. Shout out to Tay. She's in the back.
She's in the background. Shout out to Tay.
You saw your core crew. That's like one.
Did we see? We met up. We met up a little bit.
Yeah.
But mostly my time was spent. I would go visit my dad.
Yeah, I remember that.
That nigga would not let me in the house because he was dead ass serious.
He had you outside. He had you like those people outside talking through the window.
I spoke to them through the window, my G. For like 3-4 hours straight, like we would be talking or whatever. I would just be standing on their porch, talking to them or whatever.
People are not gonna believe us when we have to like recap the pandemic. But
it was different.
I'm happy we're documenting this.
My dad was on some, and my dad has always been he's in better shape than me even now. He's like 56 years old, but still got his college football scholarship body. Like, he's this dude. Like, he's only 56 in his beard. Like, other than that, like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So his thing was, it'll be me, the one that's always ate right, that's always working out or whatever, and watch me be the one to get sick and die. I'm not taking that risk.
That is hilarious.
Like, that's just, like, the way he was, whatever. So I would, like, see them talk through the window, which was fine. I get it. And I would go see my mom. And that was another reason why I wasn't really spending too much time around people I didn't trust like that. Because my mom has pre-existing conditions, and she needed me to help her with stuff, grocery store run, like all this different stuff. So I'm not putting my mom at risk to hang out with you weird niggas. Some of y'all needed to sit in the house.
I'm crying.
Some of y'all didn't need to be outside. So yeah.
With your one thing, because you bring up your mom a lot, and I want to acknowledge like how much she means to you. One of my favorite tracks in the album, which is no surprise to no one, is Mama Said. Because I just feel like it's just such a heartwarming, like...
Wait till you hear her voice note when I put it on there.
Oh my God, I might have to take this back. But Quis's mom is a very colorful woman. She's a very inspiring woman, and she's a very dedicated woman in terms to your greatness and your growth. How do you feel that you talk a lot about having two parents, right? And unfortunately, like you talk a lot about on the album, you're not a statistic. Like, you are one of those people who people can look to and say, well, he had two parents. He came from love. He came from, like, a stable environment. How do you feel like that's also altered your perspective when making music?
So, I always talk about my mom because my mom is a character.
But we love her. Like, she gives me so much life.
I love her to death. But she's always been a character. I try to consciously talk about my dad more in the last couple of albums because if you're an Authenic Quis fan from like day one on the first project that I intentionally took off of the internet, so you can't find it. If you got it, that means you got it while it was out. It's called the PSA. I feel fine saying it because you won't find it.
I want the link.
It's called the PSA. Stands for the Phenomenal Swag Affair. My first project. And it's a mixtape that I put out, and on that album and on earlier music, before me and my dad me and my dad have always been in contact, right? So I come from a 2-parent household, but not because my dad was there, because my mom had me so young and she was still living with her mother, my nana. So that's who raised me for most of the younger years. My dad went to Virginia to play football and have his college scholarship. Meets my stepmom down there, falls in love They end up like staying there. He was always visiting back and forth. They would come. I was supposed to spend summers down there. That's another story that I'm not going to get too much deep into because there's another content piece that I plan on doing directly with my parents.
Same for the book. I know that story.
Excuse me. But with that being said, get some water. With that being said, and for the record, I'm not getting choked up because this is emotional, because it's not. I'm choked up because I'm recovering from a cold that I had last week. But with that being said, I just wanted to be clear. With that being said, there was a gap between us, right? Because I'm spending time with my cousins. I'm spending time with friends. I'm seeing my friends' parents pick them up from school. Sometimes it's the mom and dad together. Sometimes it's just the mom. Sometimes it's just the dad. But at a certain point, it's like, oh shit, people have two parents. Like there's a mom and a dad. Mm-hmm. And I started asking about mine. And at the time, mine weren't getting along. But me probing to start to ask for that once I started noticing it helped that. And my dad was trying to see me. My mom had her reasons for not letting him see me. I think that mistakes were made. And they both did the best that they could at that time. But again, you're talking about two young ass people who were kids doing adult things. So anyway, that trickles down because it's funny. You would think if you see me and my dad together now, you see me and my brother. I have a brother on my dad's side, a sister on my mom's side. And you see us, you would think that like we were always this tight ass unit. But there was a time when we weren't. There was a time when I was dissing the shit out of this nigga on these songs. And when we finally had our conversation about real life stuff, he was like, yeah, I heard your music. I heard it. And I didn't know yet. I was like, oh, word, it's fire, right?
That's crazy.
Yo, it is what it is, right? But we had a conversation, and then once I got his side and I was able to put some things together and fill in some blanks for him and fill in some blanks for my mom and kind of put together the pieces for myself, I realized, okay, I'm not, everything that I thought that I was mad at him for, I'm not mad at him for. And I'm not accurate in the assessment of what I thought happened because it didn't happen exactly the way I thought. So I consciously try to make sure that I rap about my life in general. So if I spend time with you and we're really, really close and I love you, at some point your name is going to be in the song or a couple of songs at different points. Yeah. I feel like you got a shout out on like maybe the first album I did after we met because we just clicked pretty instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just me. Like that's my thing. If I never gave you the Quis approved, I don't fuck with you. That hashtag is never hit in a post I did about you, I do not fuck with you. If you never got a shout out on the song, I don't fuck with you. Now, not on that level. Like we haven't been through anything deep and intimate where like I might fuck with you, but like I don't fuck with you, if that makes sense. So, I consciously try to put him in there because I feel like if you're not the apology, because it's not an apology for me because I don't owe anybody a sorry, but the respect should be as loud as the disrespect, basically. So it's like if I felt a certain type of way when things were bad and I talked about it, I want to continue to do that as they're good. So my perspective, I feel like on that is, as far as how it represents me in my music, I want when you hear my music for you to feel like you're having a conversation with me.
I think that's definitely present on this album.
That's my ultimate goal. Like I want us to feel like we're talking, whether you agree with me or you don't. I want you to feel like I'm speaking from your perspective. If I am, if I'm not, I could be speaking from a perspective of someone that you love. And I want it to represent my personality. And if you know me, I joke a lot. I'm a little goofy. I like to have fun. I like to talk about real shit. I love a good uncomfortable moment, like an awkward moment. I like to say I cuddle with the elephant in the room. I feel like there's no reason to front like some shit's not happening when it's happening. The sooner you address it, the sooner we can move beyond it. And I've always come from a good place. Like I can honestly say that. If I'm not coming from a good place, I'm going to warn you ahead of time that I'm not coming from a good place because it probably means you did something for me to like not come from that. But even with that, like even the people I don't like, I still wish you the best. Like I hope you succeed and you're in a great place. Just don't be great next to me.
Wow.
No, and that's not to say that
That's
gym
a
your life.
bar.
No, like be great over there.
Yeah.
And like, I'll never wish anything bad on anybody, but like, yeah, it's just like a distance. So again, like the two parent thing or whatever, it's cool. It's dope. Not everybody has it. I feel like given where we talk about it all the time. Shouts to my parents. When I say my parents, I have 4 now. I have a stepdad and a stepmom. But shouts to my parents as far as my stepmother and my dad. Last weekend, we're out in Lakewood, New Jersey. They got honorary doctorates in humanitarianism. Like,
shout out to them. No, we gotta clap that up.
did that shit together as a couple. Like,
up.
I was proud. Like, it's such a dope thing to see. So we're close, and it makes me really think about what are the important things in life, and it definitely shaped me as far as just not having hate in my heart and just knowing different people's situations, and you never know what people are going through, how people grow, and their treatment of you or their relationship to you is also in a relationship to whatever they're going through at that point in their life. So I try to use my parents as an example of that, knowing they both had their various struggles with their own parents, with their life stories, and I can never hold any malice towards them, towards anything. Plus, they were dope ass parents. But any mistakes that they made, I like to say I'm the oldest, so I'm a guinea pig, baby. You're doing something that you've never done before. You're experimenting on raising a life. Like, you're gonna make some mistakes, and there's gonna be some rough spots, but get over it, push through as a unit, hopefully, and you come out great on the other side. I hope my music reflects some of that as I'm shouting out and I'm rapping about having a business with my dad, or the stuff that my mom instilled me with or whatever. Yeah. And it's dope because, that song Mama Said, which is one of my favorite songs on the album, my mama said I'm dope. She did. Like, even in moments where I'm not feeling dope, even in moments where she probably shouldn't say that I'm dope. But that's the thing about like a parent's love, right? No matter what, their baby is their baby. Unless their baby pissed them off, then I'm not dope. When I did some shit to her, I'm not dope. But even then, it's just like she's disappointed because I'm so dope, which I haven't disappointed my mom in years, but probably since being a teenager. But yeah, so that's just a cool point to have, and I put that song out there for people. There's probably going to be a remix to that song. E was supposed to be on it. Unfortunately, we couldn't get it to work out. But shouts to Mama Charles, rest in peace. She passed away. His mom passed away exactly a month after my Nana did in the same year. They're buried like right next to each other almost. So I wanted him on there because I know his relationship with his mom and the importance there. But when I did that song, it's just a reminder of other people might switch up on you. People who are your friends today may not be your friends tomorrow. Your girlfriend may cheat. Shit, my lady thinks I'm fly. The truth is that I'm both. But even if she switched on me, my mama said I'm dope.
I think that's beautiful that you document your friendships with people and that impacts and their importance to you in your life. Like, you've had voice notes from me, you've shouted me out in songs. You shouted out like Sneak in songs. Like, Tay always gets a feature, regardless of if she wants one or not. Like, Tay is certified in this legacy. But for you, what does that mean? Like, it's almost like you have these still shots or like these snapshots of your life while you're creating this music. Like, do you feel like this is part of your legacy that maybe you want to document for your kids? Like, do you ever envision that? Like, if I'm a dad one day, am I going to play these songs for my kids and my kids are asking me, like, who are all these people you're talking about?
Yeah. Well, hopefully, if life goes the way that I plan it, they'll be like, oh, are you talking about Auntie T? Are you talking about, like, what, like...
Auntie of the Year, by the way.
Yes. So for me, even now, like, most of my friendships at this point are all 10 plus years. Like, unless I just recently met you, like, at a job or something like that and we clicked, whatever. But a lot of my closest connections at this point are 10 plus years. And it's always been like that. I have friends from, like, elementary school I still keep in contact with. Middle school, high school, all that. So for me, if I'm documenting my life in the music, and these different people have been there for various chapters, of course you're going to be in the songs, right? Like, it's only right to have that information. I feel like I treat my music really kind of like the way I treat my like social media posts, like my tweets, my Facebook statuses, whatever. It's really be for me. Like, I want to be able to look back. Jefferson pointed out today that we have a memory from, what was it, like 5 years ago, whatever? 8 years ago. I just realized
We're talking
today.
to the cameraman, guys.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jeff. He's the one
Yes.
holding it down for us.
That we have a memory of, I'm at a Cousin Stiz show. Shouts to Cousin Stiz. And he's on stage at this point, he was like 15, 16 years old.
Wild.
He been all the shows. He was at all the shows on stage, whatever. So I like shouted. I like got the video of Stiz, and then he's clearly in the background with his camera, like, you know, getting stuff. So I shouted him out or whatever. So he was like, "Yo, it's so weird because we haven't seen each other in a really long time." So the fact that we met up today, and for the first time in like some years, and like that memory was on this date today.
That's
and Stiz, shouts to Cousin Stiz, dropped an album either today or yesterday. So I pay attention to stuff like that. I like to document things just for like the memories to know, like, okay, where was I at 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was, and who was I with? Mm-hmm. Do I still feel the same? Like sometimes I'll share a post and I'll be like, damn, I was pissed off that day. I don't even know who I was dissing. Who was I subbing in? It's like, whatever. Sometimes it's like, still feel the same. Still same friend, same city if you're looking for me. Like, all that. Like, it just varies. So the point is for me to be able to look back and just see where I'm at and how I've grown mostly. And I would like to document some stuff so if I do have kids, like, they get to know who I was at this age. Because
that's actually...
I ran the opposite direction of my parents. They had kids so young that I was like, no, I'm outside. Like, so when I do finally have kids, I'm going to probably end up being older. So I would like them to know who I was before they got a chance to meet me. I've actually been thinking about doing like little video diaries for them.
I think that's a fire idea.
And just like letting them know,
talking to them
hey,
from your current state of mind.
This is where I'm at on this day, this age, how I'm feeling, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And even doing it up to the point where they're born. And then now you're in them. And like,
you might want to copyright that. There is somebody who's about to steal your whole flow, bar from bar.
It wouldn't be the first time.
Oh, wow.
It wouldn't be the first time.
Do we want to get into that?
I'm following your lead, yo. I'm just talking. Casual conversation.
It is weird outside. You was talking some shit on this album.
I was annoyed.
Who made you mad? In the current climate, okay, go ahead.
No.
Ben,
no, what was you about to say?
In the current climate of hip hop, rap, this is one that, I try. In the current moment of hip hop and rap, we've had one of the most historic years this year. To 2024.
On my birthday weekend.
On your birthday weekend. On my birthday weekend. Forget your birthday. That's not it all. But like acknowledging that in this current climate of having like lyrical gymnastics and really having people who are out here preserving the history, the legacy in hip hop in all forms, in authentic forms or authentic forms, or in avenues where they are doing things to the mainstream, or they are doing things to just to hit radio, or just to like, you know, get the streams on Spotify. How do you feel crafting your album this year has evolved? Because you did do a lot of homage on the album. There's a lot of bars that ring bells in people's minds, and you did, like, I don't want to like name everybody because I definitely want you guys to listen for yourself, but it's a beautiful part to kind of say, like, no, I'm a student of hip hop, but also, like, I know how to really do this shit. So how did that translate for you when creating this process?
So whether I say actual artist's name that I'm influenced by, or take a bar and flip it in my own way or whatever, that's just something that's important to me, and I like people who do that. So, like, my favorite artist of all time, favorite rapper of all time is Jay-Z.
Shout out to the GOAT.
Shout out to the GOAT. Get over it, Nas fans and other people who may have something to say.
Make no sense. Understand. At this point, you guys gotta know.
Some people are still mad, man. Some people are still mad. But what I would say is, for me, lyrics is where it's always going to be at, right? I think that the thing that made me a better artist at a certain point, I was always a good rapper. At some point, I learned how to make songs and become a better artist. And the balance, man. I like a lot of diversity in my palette. Those are usually the artists that I like identify with the most. So I like to be able to do the stripper song, drop it, dip it, shouts to that. I like to be able to do the more serious song about just life and stuff that I've seen, good enough. Shouts to that on the album. Or put it on my soul. Those type of joints. I love to make a good girl record.
You do.
I love to make
Yo, ladies, he got some hits.
I love
he
to
got
talk
some
to those
hits
girls.
on this Weird Outside.
Because I spend most of my time with women, man, and I feel like and it's funny because I was listening to my music the other day and I posted this and I was just like, yo, randomly, this is gonna be random and y'all aren't gonna understand why I'm saying this, but women are the tastemakers in everything. And if you have them on your side, you can very rarely lose. Probably the majority of my fan base is probably female because the niggas be hating. So
we're gonna get to that.
There's and I got some dude fans too or whatever, but I feel like it's important to just kind of remember where everything came from and No Ideas Original. Shouts to Nas. Like I'm a Nas fan.
Okay,
he's in my top 5. He just ain't one.
Yeah.
But even with that, like there's just times to just pull certain things and bring them back, and I think that familiarity can draw people in. But then you show how you're taking it, and like again, shouts to Hove. You made it a hot line. I made it a hot song. Like joints like that or whatever. Like just taking something that you got influence from somebody else and pulling it and taking it to the next level or expanding on it in your own way. I think is important to do, especially when people don't go back and listen anymore to like any of like the old stuff. So some people say, oh, you're stealing some shit and like, whatever. But it's like, no, I'm just showing that I'm a fan and that's whatever. Like I'm not fucking copycatting and fucking entire DNA or something. Like the Prettiest, I heard that beat and the Prettiest reminded me of that time when Drake did Best I Ever Had.
Yeah.
And when Kendrick did She Needs Me. Dom Kennedy had a joint, I can't even think of the name of what right now. But like that era of, I can't even describe it, but it's just the feeling that beat gave me. So, and I kept hearing sweatpants, hair tie, like that, like whatever. So I had to like just do that or whatever. But I think that that balance of just bringing in my life and just using those influences are really important. My favorite artists are always going to be able to give me the type of music that I would want to make. And sometimes when I feel like I'm not getting enough of that from my favorite artists, I'll just go make it myself.
And so, that's the spark of true creativity.
Yeah.
One thing I appreciated listening to It's Weird Outside is that it gave me that feeling of that like 2010, maybe 2009, 2012, like Kid Cudi, Kanye, like Drake era when they were really like up and coming to being who they are today. But they still had like that fun kind of like I call it airy rap. I don't know why, but it's just like that lighthearted, fun rap that is relatable. And we're not talking about obvious items that we can't afford or women. They're just like here in the moment, experiencing life, growing through life, and we're growing up with them. Yeah. And a lot of this album feels like that for you. Like it's almost as if you're in different phases of your life talking to yourself. Yes. And that growth on how you like plateau from, yo, I'm just here for the girls and I'm just like here to have a good time, to like, yo, I'm kind of depressed. Is someone going to check on me? To talking about your family, talking about your friends, to elevating and talking to Sheriff, saying like, nah, you know what? I'm going to lock in. Like, I want to say, I don't know, between LMA and Wanna Fly, those are probably my 2 favorite tracks on the album. And I know you're not surprised by that because they're very motivational. They're very, those are 2 uplifting. It's just like music you listen to in the morning to like kind of get your day started. Mm-hmm. And that's things like I appreciated as a fan, being like, wow, like Quis is really speaking to us, but I can feel where he was at that moment and how that translated into this record.
Wanna Fly is I had to get that song on that album, and shouts to Session, Big Session. originally from South End, lives in Atlanta and doing great things down there. But he produced Wanna Fly. He's also featured on Culture. And Wanna Fly and Culture are actually two songs that I wrote for a joint album me and him were supposed to do together. And those songs are kind of old.
Are they?
They're kind of old. So
okay.
I wrote one.
That makes sense now. Okay.
I wrote Wanna Fly. Well, the first verse of Wanna Fly is old. The second verse is recent because the second verse was originally Session. But I felt, long story less long. We have an album we're supposed to be working on. I don't even want to say the name because we're still probably going to do this. I'll tell you off camera. But basically, I came up with a concept. Session is like my big brother hero that I look up to as a rapper, and just as a creative in general. And I always wanted to do, like, we've done songs together for years. Even that Culture, like that Culture song was like one of the last songs to be recorded and made or whatever. And I was like, dude, I'll push the date back because this was supposed to come out. This album's been pushed back a bunch of times. But I told him, I'm like, I've never did a project and you wasn't on it. It doesn't even feel right. And yeah, I can say you produced a couple, because he also produced Coming Down Slow, which is also an old song. That song's old. Like, the whole song. The only thing that's new on that song, I re-recorded the vocals. I added Shawnee's vocals to sing along with me because I felt like it made it better. But that song, Culture, and Wanna Fly is all written around the same time in the 2010s. I'm not going to date it.
Am I good or am I good, y'all?
No, you're really good. And what happened was, Culture was on a whole different beat that Session also produced. This beat that it's on now, Tay Melody, for Spliff Beats, he produced the majority of this project. It's just him in Session and then one other guy on one song, which I'll get to that later as well. But basically, long story less long, we were going to do this album. I was super excited about it. I fly down to Atlanta. I hit him. I'm like, yo, I'm coming to Atlanta. We got to do this album together. I got this whole idea. And I give him the concept and the idea. I remember I was mad when 444 dropped because Hove did his songs. He played them for people. And then he did like those vignettes of them talking about the song or whatever.
Oh my God.
Session and I, for the concept album that we were doing, we did that in reverse. And we should have filmed it. But we didn't film it. We talked about life as black men and where we were at and just stuff that we were concerned about, different things that were topics for us. And then after those conversations, kind of like we're talking right now, at a certain point of the conversation, he would just slide his chair over, still talk to me, but then start making beats. And like off of our conversation. And then he was making the beat. Wild. And then I started writing while he's making the beat or whatever. So I did the majority of the concepts based off of our conversation because he was starting with the beat, and then I would start with the lyrics, and then he would go. Session does not, I don't know if he writes now. Session don't write. So he just goes in and he'll just mumble or whatever and do his thing or whatever and all that. But we did the Culture song, and we did and it was my favorite song. We did about 7 or 8 songs. Hard drive crash, loses all the data, all the shit. The only copies that are there are what he emailed me. So I had that beat for Wanna Fly still. And I had the rough version of what we recorded. And I love that song, and I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to do it over. I really want to put this song on it. And then I did the second verse myself because I had a new perspective. The first verse of Wanna Fly is I Wanna Fly. Like, it's me talking about, my humble beginnings, me trying to figure stuff out, trying to like act more confident than maybe what I actually was. And even the flows, there's some flow in that first verse too. But that second verse, the lyrics, the gymnastics, the flowing and everything, whatever, that's oh no, nigga. It's no longer I want to fly, I'm going to fly.
Yeah.
And that's the attitude in that verse. And that's more of me now versus me back when I first wrote the first verse. There's certain songs that I have that I didn't necessarily want to feature on, but I wanted a different perspective. or I wanted a different version of me on. Shoot, Mama Said is like that too. The first verse is a very calm, more laid back, lazy flow, whatever. The second verse comes in a little bit more aggressive or whatever. Like I wanted both of those sounds on that song. But I wanted them both from me. And that's like a couple of different joints on this album. But yeah, Wanna Fly is one of my favorite joints, and it's one of my favorites just because of how we created it. I remember the conversation we had. I wish we recorded those conversations. And we were just so naturally in the moment. Like it was organic. So it wasn't planned that way. It was just like, yo, we're going to talk about concepts and we're going to make songs. And
yeah.
I wish we would have been thinking, yo, we should probably record these conversations. Because when Jay dropped 444, and I'm like, yo, they're doing what we did in reverse. It's just he made the songs and then they talked about it. We talked about life shit and then made the songs off of the life shit.
That's a wild casting. That's like to see that process and just hear of your creative process in that moment is actually, it's a testament to how you operate as artists and how you make your creative space sacred. So I think that is all. Well, I can say as a fan, that is often shared and that's often felt in your music. But also, you do have a unique way of ensuring that when you're in the creation process, it makes for a space where everyone can feel like they're able to be themselves and then thrive in that space. Mm-hmm. You have a lot of features. Not a lot, but you have notable features on this project. Mm-hmm. What made you choose these people to be on this project? You know my favorite's Lotus and Mav, of course, but...
So, me and Mav have only done one other song together, and it was on a project for him way back in the day, and I don't think that project ever came out, and it was a new edition sample. We did Sorry over. Sorry, you're not that kind.
Yo,
I still know that verse by heart.
Y'all are so Boston, that's like crazy.
It's not the right chemistry. It's not the right. I'm not even gonna give y'all that. But like, yeah, I still know that verse. But and I'll play that for you. I probably have it in a laptop. But we had said for years we were gonna do something together and like, you know, just timing and just figuring stuff out or whatever. So when I heard that beat, it's so funny. Tay Melody sent me the beat and for LMA. And he was like, yo, I like this beat, but I maybe you can do something to it. I can't think of like a concept. And as soon as I heard it, I played it and it just came to me. And like that's when I became a better songwriter than rapper. I try to write in melody now on certain parts because I'm always going to have the bars and the lyrics or whatever, but sometimes earlier version of me sacrificed the quality of the song because I wanted to get this ill metaphor in this punchline and say some dope shit. So I've been trying to really more so focus on like actual songwriting and things that people will like. And yeah, basically that. So that melody hit and then it was just, I think that people were, and I already knew that I was feeling like outside was weird. And it was like something that I wanted to say more often, but I'm like, nah. Because when I said it, I'm just like, dude, this would be a dope album title. So I'll say it to my close inner circle. You know it's weird outside, nigga. But like the way I would usually post, like I can't wait now that this shit is done. And once I put my shit in ASCAP and everything is registered, that's all I'm gonna say.
I can't wait for the merch.
Yes.
Personally,
yes.
You know.
So that it was just like, dude, just leave me alone, nigga. Like if you're not clicked and leave me alone. And I was trying to figure out, and then so to bring it back to your other question as well, you talked about how I like took other bars or whatever or certain lines and shouted out people from artists that influenced me. I pay tribute to myself on this album way more than people realize. And only if you are a real Authenic Quis fan and you really know lyrics. Stacks in my lap. Cat in a lap.
I did catch that. Okay.
That's a bonus track off of Revenge of the Bull. That's like part of the hook on that. I need to get the fuck away from these niggas, fuck away from these hoes. I call it Antisocial Part 2 in parentheses because antisocial, that was the whole chorus on that song on Revenge of the Bull. Even stuff from Heavy as the Head is like sprinkled in. It's like just different bars at different points where I'm almost like trying to do like Marvel like Easter eggs in my music where it's just like callbacks to other shit that I've already said in the past or certain concepts or whatever. and wanting to be left alone. I'm just like, dude, I didn't want to complain. I didn't want to drop an album where I was complaining or I was preaching. So it was like, I took my problems and annoyances and wrote a bunch of anthems. Now niggas steady throwing parties to my tantrums. Like, that's from Heavy as the Head.
Yep.
And I do a version of that line. That's another Easter egg on this upcoming album,
yeah.
on the last song. So that is like that's like the theme. Like, I want to say that I don't want to fuck with y'all, but I want people to have fun saying that they don't fuck with y'all either. And for everybody to feel like,
that's
whatever.
That's the exact energy I'm getting from this project.
That was the basis of this project.
Yep.
It was to a point where I was like, all right, let's put some depth in there. Because I like balance. So it's like, all right, I don't want it to be too preachy, but how do I say I don't agree with some of the weird shit that y'all are doing, some of the snake shit that y'all are doing, some of the nagging shit these females be doing, like all this different shit that annoys me or whatever, but in a way where it's not coming off not fun to listen to. And that was the basis of this album, really.
That's fine.
Y'all annoy me. How can I make an uppity album and sound cool? I don't want to fuck with y'all.
An uppity album.
Yeah, it's bougie.
Nah,
it's bougie.
He was in the balcony on this one.
Like, yeah, it's me.
He was not coming down to GA for nobody.
I'm judging some of you.
Judgmental?
I'm not judgmental, but I am judging some of you in certain moments or whatever. And it's just certain shit I want to be like, do you, it's cool.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, leave me alone. I don't want to kick it at all. All of you niggas is weird. Like, these are things that people feel on a regular basis. We've had these conversations. How many times have we been invited to things and we call each other or text each other, yo, you gonna go? I'll go if you go. Then we can only have to stay for this amount of time. Yeah, we're telling on ourselves.
I am not the spotlight of this interview.
I'm just saying.
I don't like giving my secrets away.
All right. Well, these are certain things that happen. So yeah, that's the basis. And yeah, those two songs are like earlier songs of the project. Like Mav's verse came. Mav actually he recorded his verse a year ago, last year in July for that. But yeah, these are songs that like I had like concepts or wrote different parts to or whatever for a while. But yeah, I'm glad you like those two particular songs.
No, those are my top. I want to say yeah, they're both.
Your voice note you sent me is really. I edited it to make it fit for the whole project. I can't wait.
You guys have no idea. I don't know what this voice note he's talking about is because I send Keith a lot of voice notes during my time.
So you should have heard it. If you made it to the end of the album.
Oh,
one.
Okay, no, that's Easter egg.
Now, there's a longer version of that.
Yes, there is a longer version of that one.
But I had him chop.
I thought you were gonna add the longer part.
No.
Okay.
No,
all right.
I'm not doing that.
Well, we're in clear. We're safe because it's gonna get real scary
that.
for a lot of y'all. And okay, so you said something super interesting. And that's the fact that people change. People will switch up on you. Mm-hmm. And I think that's just a common thread that everyone's going through right now, where it's just like we're transforming ourselves into different versions of ourselves, and sometimes at a fast rate. How do you feel? And again, like echoing the sentiment to like, this album is like you talking to you in different phases. How do you feel that you encapsulated that on this project?
I feel like I never as funny as I can be, and I shared this meme yesterday as a Taurus. I'm never as mean as I really want to be.
You are so into astrology now. It's crazy.
I've always.
It's not my fault. If you guys know me personally, it's not me.
I've always wanted to. I want to tell you how I feel, and I want you to know how I feel without embarrassing you. I only want to. Again, I'm a, believe it or not, I have my levels. Like I post a lot and all that other stuff, but I'm a private person. So you see what I want you to see. So sometimes in certain songs and when people switching or whatever, like this is for you, and when you hear this, you're gonna know it's for you. I don't need.
Did you pull
else.
A Drake?
I've been pulling a Drake before Drake. I mean, I pulled a Hove. Hove
is. If y'all didn't know, for real hip hop heads, Hove is way worse than what y'all think Drake be doing. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's one of those things where it's just like you'll know if I'm talking. If you hear this song and you're smart and you know what you did. Some people it's just a random line. No, you know, and that's all I need. Because more than likely, I've already told you how I feel in person anyway. But if I'm still feeling residual annoyance or residual hurt that I need to get off and get out my system, then that's how I do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's I mean, I'm never gonna put a name out there, but yeah, says she a Virgo, but really she cray. Like there's like there's shit on there.
You know, I didn't want to bring that up during this interview, but let's talk about women.
All right.
Let's get into the juicy part of this.
Women, the juicy part.
Yes. So, okay, pause. But in actuality, you have a very interesting relationship when you're talking about women. Like, you're very celebratory about them. You uplift them. You're very much like telling women on one coin. You're telling women like she's beautiful. Like, on the prettiest is one of my favorite parts where you're just like talking about how you don't think like a lot of women can see themselves in the beauty that they portray in the world, but on the flip side, you also are the average rapper. And you talking about being bitches down.
Average?
And
being bitches down.
Just vulgarity we won't get into.
I would never.
You literally did On Track.
That's funny.
No, but seriously, for this album, I feel like you are talking more about the admiration of women. So how do you feel like that has changed throughout, I want to say Revenge of the Bull, when you was getting kind of crazy, and I was like, he's coming down?
Damn, what I say on Revenge of the Bull?
You said a lot.
I had one love song on Revenge of the Bull. I feel like, so the reason why, again, the music's always going to reflect whatever I'm going through or just different things that I've seen in life. I am not actively dating seriously right now, or whatever. So I'm more at peace. So you get peace. When I was feeling people or into certain things and things were a little bit rough, you going to get some of that too, or whatever. Like, even some of the songs, like when I'm saying certain things or whatever, it's not even in the fact of a relationship. Mm-hmm. Some of that shit, like one of my other favorite songs, almost every song is like my favorite song on here, which is why it's 23 tracks. Because I got rid of the ones that weren't my absolute favorites. But the Heartbreak Anthem Part 2.
Yeah, I was just looking at that one.
Another shout back to the Passport mixtape.
Yeah.
From Heartbreak Anthem Part 1. Oh my goodness. What's the line? Heard your last text, but I ain't heard your last text or saw your last text, but I ain't even read all that. Cause when you needed A to B, I ain't see all that. And to think, I ain't even try to D all that. Try to gaslight me and I'ma E all that. Take your feels, go in therapy all that. And I pray you be all right, but I'ma be all facts. And that part right there, that's talking about a friendship that's broken. That's not a relationship or whatever. That's why I say. And
Okay.
I ain't even try to D. I ain't try to fuck. Like, I ain't try to D all that.
Yeah.
Like, that was a friendship that I felt taken advantage of at the end and non-appreciated. And then so I addressed it or whatever. Like, and again, people have their trauma and stuff that they got to work through. And again, I wish her the best. But the music's always going to reflect. Now, it's written in a way for you to interpret it however you want. I know how I meant it.
Yeah.
I know the person, if they hear it, they'll know. But I think it's cool that way because I want y'all to be able to relate to the music too. So if there's somebody else out there who maybe there was someone they were actually with and intimate with or whatever, but they still feel the same way. Nah, fuck you. You did like whatever. That can be your heartbreak anthem. You can play that song or whatever. But yeah, I think that the problem is I think people feel like you have to be one way with women when it comes to women. Like, if you call a woman out on some shit and want her to be accountable, I know these are buzzwords that hurt y'all, but if you call them out on some shit, then it's like, oh, you hate women, you da-da-da. No, I just hate bullshit. Well, I don't hate anybody, but I get easily annoyed by bullshit people. Niggas be bullshit too. Those are the weirdos I'm talking about. All right. I think that for whatever reason, whenever it's your turn, quote unquote, to be called out, or held accountable, like people feel a certain type of way about it. But I feel the same. I feel like my music has been the same for the most part with women in general. And there was some old songs that may be a little bit more like whatever. I still feel some of those ways. But I am a little bit older now. There is a certain level of maturity. I am doing other things outside of music, so I have to think about branding and things of that nature. So that there's a line. There's a way to do things and to express yourself. And I also think the older you get, the better you should become at whatever your craft is. And I think that I'm able to put it in a place that's a little bit more palatable for others and still have the sting that I want it to have.
Definitely understand when you say that, because on this album, you're not playing it safe at all. You're very, not direct, but you're just very
Excuse me.
open to saying, this is how I feel, and I've gotten to this place from point A to B, right? Like, you're never just like, no, I'm just gonna be out here and talk shit and like say I hate people or just be really negative for no reason. But even in those moments of negativity on your album, you'll bring it back to a point in your life where you didn't understand yourself. And that's pretty introspective for a rap album, I will say. Like, it's very, I like to put you in the sacred seven of the conscious rappers, but it is very Cole. It is very Kendrick. It is very,
Excuse me.
even chance of you to kind of be like, no, this is like where I'm coming from. This has been my journey thus far. So in the arena of being in rap, and rap is just like it's almost like a telescope to ego. And you allow people to really come in and like reveal your soul and spotlight your soul on this project. What motivated you to choose that avenue rather than just being out here talking your shit? Or just talking about shallow topics?
A few things. Number one, I want to make music that I would want to listen to. And that's the type of music I like to listen to. I like balance in everything. We were just at the movies last night watching Deadpool versus Wolverine.
Way too late.
It was not way too late, Teresa. Stop it. You are not a grandma.
I am.
It was a 9:30 showing. Anyway, the point is, I'll be in Deadpool this week. I'll be in Long Legs next week. I'll be in, well, it's not in theaters anymore, but P.S. I Love You. There's not everything that I'm into. I want diversity in it. So for me, with the music, I think it's important. Like, again, I got to a certain point of the album where it's like, all right, this song sounds like this song, and you already said this in a slightly different way, but it's not different enough where it should make this album. So you still feel like the album's missing something and needs more songs, but it needs something else. It needs depth. It needs the good enough. It needs the put it on my soul. It needs Confessions of a King. So those type of joints are important to me. And also, I come from that, right? So my background and work is in community work and working with youth. And I started as a youth when I was like 14, 15 years old. My first rap was a rap about cigarettes, like how they're bad for you. Now, terrible rap. Cigarettes, if you're smoking cigarettes in 2024, let me know. I'll put the hit out on you because clearly you want to kill yourself.
Yo, this is wild. People can't have vices?
No, not cigarettes. Not in 2024. Smoke crack before you smoke cigarettes.
That's why. That's okay. Well, we got a sensationalized clip right there. All right.
But no. But
keys for crack.
Keys for crack. No, but in a more serious note, I feel like high school, I rapped about the MCAS. I was working at Teen Empowerment. We would do events and art pieces around stuff that we were dealing with as youth. MCAS, gang violence, rape culture, teenage pregnancy even. I rapped from like my parents' perspective on a song. So like these are things that I've always done that maybe, and if you've listened to every project, even the one that's no longer out on the internet, but if you got it when it was out, a good portion of those songs
the link. I don't know why
are those songs. Like I rap about these different things that I've gone through and just like those different like life issues. The last album was Black Joy. The album before that was Black Excellence.
Yep.
Oh my God. I'm blanking on song titles right now, but there's always a level of that in there. What I was really concerned about with this album was who's going to notice that even though I'm talking a lot of shit on this album and it's a lot of anthems and a lot of high energy, there are moments in here where I'm like putting on the fake smile.
Yeah.
And
it's like a cry for help.
But yeah, that's what, because again, I didn't want it to be too preachy. I wanted it to come out around like a vibe type time, which is why I'm really pushing to get this out in the summer. I wanted it to be fun music, but I still wanted it to have like a little bit of depth to it, because there's still a lot, like Wale, one of my favorites. And I think
part of Sacred Seven.
I think he should be mentioned up there on a higher level, but he doesn't get the credit.
You are working so hard for a feature right now. That's crazy.
No, I'm just saying, dude. I would love to out-rap Wale on a song. Yes, I would. Yes.
Y'all heard it here first.
I love Wale, but I listen, you're supposed to feel that way as a rapper. Shit, I would try my best to out-rap Hove if I got that. You think I'm not going to try to murder Hove on this song?
Let me tell you something that Jay-Z's not doing. He's rapping. Go ahead.
I know. I'm just saying. But yeah, so with that being said, I think it's important, again, for my music to represent who I am as a person. If you're talking to me in regular conversation, we're going to talk Marvel movies, we're going to talk television, we're going to talk about current events, we're going to talk about, shit that's happening in the neighborhood, we're going to talk about stocks, we're going to, these are all just different things that I'm interested in either sharing the information I already have on them or learning more about. So my music, I want you to know me as a person. That's just like the representative of it. Now, sift through it and get what you can get. And I think that a lot of people don't give the chance for that to happen with many different artists. So I made this album for the people that I made it for, and that's why only certain people have heard it.
What did this album reveal about you? I can give you my answer after.
You know what's funny? I don't think it reveals anything about me that you wouldn't have already known if you were already listening to me. I think the next album reveals more about me. While there are reflections of me in this album and my feelings and my thoughts, it's basically revealing what my thoughts are about the world right now and what I think about society in general, right? And how I see myself fitting into that or not fitting into that. The next album, and because I started writing 2 albums at the same time. So the next album, which I'll say the name here, or maybe I'll say it right now for conversation purposes. I may have Jeff block this out. But the name of the next album is going to be called Never Perfect, Always Dope. And
that's actually fire. I can see why.
That's more of when you'll get more of me.
Yeah.
Like the personal reflection of me a little bit more than maybe what you've had before. This album, I'm looking at the rest of you niggas. But so it reveals some stuff about me in a certain way. And if you're listening closely, you'll get those things. But it'll go into a little bit more details around some of the depression and other things that I was worried about.
It's interesting you say that, because as your friend, I feel that, yes, you're looking at everybody else from the balcony again, and you're just like, I'm never coming down there. But I think for you, I think for me as your friend, and animosity, judgmental, as your friend, I feel that I learned more about how you view yourself in the aspect of just being human. Like, one thing that's really healthy about you is you never beat yourself up. You will call yourself out, you'll hold yourself accountable, but you never, negative self-talk yourself. And maybe I'm going super ultra psychologist on this. I'm not from a background. But you revealed to us, and this is just me listening on probably 2-3 listens, is that you understand the concept of being a human being, expanding, making mistakes, allowing yourself to feel your feels, but also understanding you're just one part of this ecosystem that everybody's going through shit. Nobody has it all fucking together, and no one can really sit there and say that I'm better than anybody else. I mean, you do, but I'm better than anybody else.
I don't think I'm better than anybody.
You're on the balcony, Keys. But you're saying that
Marquise Tucker does not think that he is better than anybody.
Authentic Quis.
He better than some of you.
Okay, well, yeah. So
he better than some of y'all.
I think it's something to say that you have that kind of moral integrity to say, yo, you know, I understand like none of us are gonna be perfect here, but I do want to acknowledge the fact that it is weird outside. So what the hell are you guys going through? And even though you, like you said, like you wear this mask on some of these records and it's a call for help, but you're able to have that self-awareness about yourself, but also you have that self-awareness, well, you have that community awareness when it comes down to like, yo, people are really like going through some weird times or they just don't know themselves. So you guys are all playing a role, and but I'm coming out and this is who I am.
I think that people can't sit with, and I probably said this a million times during 2020. People can't sit with themselves and deal with their shit. And that's why you turn up and you run to the clubs. You want to know what's going on, who's outside, what different event is. And again, we all look for an escape every now and then. But sometimes you got to sit your ass down and really like spend some time in the mirror. One of the concepts or levels of it's weird outside, if you get there, it's weird outside because it's weird inside. A lot of people are feeling these weird feelings on the inside and they're not addressing them, and it's causing them to act out in different ways, which is then now a ripple effect on the rest of society and the way you're relating to others. In some ways, this plays out in smaller annoyances and just the way you talk to people or your rudeness or whatever the case may be, your bitterness, the weird shit, or again, just try to do too much to be somebody that you're not. And then in a wider range, it plays out in a way where it has a more negative effect. So you didn't deal with your trauma, so now you may have put Band-Aids over bullet wounds and you haven't properly healed. Now you bleeding on the next person. And this is where you end up where now maybe you were abused, so now you become the abuser, or all these other different things that come out on a more serious level. And I guess for me, the point of the project is for me to point out whatever I'm feeling to myself. Hopefully I can have people see some stuff in them themselves as well while having fun. But being okay with not being okay. But then not just sitting in that. Like you have to like do something, right? The world is going to kick your ass every chance it gets. To bring it back to like the not talking down on myself thing, there's a lot of people out there who don't even know me who are going to be willing to tell me I ain't shit. Who's this nigga? You ain't did nothing. You ain't big as this person. You ain't like, whatever. So there are haters out there doing their job, right? There are actual haters, and then there are people, they don't necessarily hate you, but maybe they hate themselves or they just hate the world and they just lashing out, whatever the case may be. For whatever reason. Why I gotta help the ops? Like, no one's gonna ride for me like I ride for me. And if I'm not willing to ride for me, it's gonna be hard to find others to do that. So no, you can't talk down on yourself. You have to be real with yourself. You have to be honest about shit that you can do better and things you need to work on. But you can't give yourself some grace. You don't beat yourself. Don't do that. Don't be self-loathing and all that other stuff. Because at the end of the day, while I may not have accomplished everything that I wanted to accomplish at this point, I don't necessarily have everything that I want. What I do, no matter what my situation is, and this is how I know I'm going to be okay, whether I feel like I'm stressing with life-work balance and family issues, worrying about, family members' health and spending enough time with everybody, blah, blah, blah. The one thing that never fucking changes, I sleep well. I snore. I drool. Like, it's deep sleep.
I feel like...
No, I'm just saying. Like, some people are up at night because they're not comfortable with who they are. They know that their shit ain't right. I know this shit I need to work on and shit I need to fix and things I would like to elevate around for myself and others.
Like snoring, that's kind of rude.
I can't help it. I'm naturally dominant everywhere. So, with that being said, I sleep well because I'm me. Like, everything I said, I'm me. Like, there's no embarrassment. I hug that elephant in the room. My shortcomings, whatever it is, we can talk about them. Like, whatever. But it still don't change the fact that I'm me and I'm dope. And I think that everybody should, not everybody, I feel like 99% of everybody should have that attitude. Some people are just shitty people, and they need to recognize that in order to change and evolve. It doesn't mean you have to be shitty for your whole life. But not enough people have that attitude. And I spend a good portion of my time, I talk for a living in every job, every different industry that I'm in, from the day job to hobbies to side businesses and up and coming hustles, all that other stuff or whatever. I'm a communicator naturally. I'm not a rapper. I'm a communicator. So with that being said, I spend the majority of my time communicating, and I speak life into everyone that I love, as well as some strangers at different points or coworkers, whatever. Like, I'm a professional coach for people. So with all of that, why I can't spend all that energy to everybody else and not leave myself with any of it.
Yeah.
Because then how do I recharge so I can continue being that person for others?
And I think that's the powerful thing. Like, a lot of what we discussed in this interview is just having more integrity and knowing who you are at your core and in yourself. And I think like that is encapsulated on this album when everyone tunes into It's Weird Outside.
It's weird.
What's one thing you want people to know after they listen to the last track on this album?
Well, how about the weird? I want them to know that they need to play it back.
Okay. All right, Street.
Excuse me.
We know you're independent, Keys. We know you're getting it.
Play it back again. No, I want people to know that it's okay to call shit out. It's okay to sit in the weird moments and address them. It's okay to grow and better yourself, right? To remove yourself and have fun while you're doing it, yo.
Yeah.
Like, it's a process. I'm working on becoming a better person. I'm working on trying to make others around me better and improve our situation on multiple levels. Like, I always live by one of the mottos, I want to leave you better than I found you.
That is one of my mantras. I'm not even playing.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Seriously, like, I feel like even if we never speak again, I don't want it to ever be, yo, Keith came around and made my life worse. And
there's a few. Never mind.
So far, I can honestly say, and they lying. Like, there's no one on my mama, on my hood. Like, there's nobody that can say that, right? So I would hope that I left you with something that made you feel better in a dark time, or that got you through, whether it was through my music, a personal relationship or conversation with me. And I would hope that you did the same for me. I feel like we should be taking and growing from each other. So I want people to be comfortable with themselves. I want people to be comfortable addressing the weird moments and just pushing through all the bullshit, bottom line. And just have fun while you're doing it. And that's always easier said than done. But the process should always be as good as the product. And I think that once we get through certain times and we get to a certain point, we look back and it's just like, damn, that was bad and that was rough, but it gave me A, B, and C. Or it wasn't always bad or whatever. And we just tend to forget about the good. So I want people to be able to acknowledge the good and embrace that in those harder moments, in those weird moments. And, just have a soundtrack to your life and doing it.
If there's one thing, and this will be our last question, because y'all gotta go stream. It's Weird Outside.
Buy, purchase. Streaming's cool too. But if you could buy the album, do y'all know how expensive it is to put together this? I'm sorry.
There's one message you can give to future Keys, because we're gonna be back on this couch and do it again, what would you say to him?
Shit, I want to know what Future Keith is going to say to me. For Future Keith, I hope I'm making you proud. I hope that I leave you in a better position than what I found you in. So wherever you're at right now, I hope whether it's a year from now, 2 years from now, whatever, like, we look back upon this moment and really have fond memories of the process, from the creative aspect to the more difficult financial aspects to the collaboration with people. And I hope we look back on this and it's a fun time. And we can figure out what you've learned from me at this point.
That's fire.
That's really important. So I hope I leave you in a better place than where you're at right now.
Quis, thank you for blessing us with this project. As a fan, I'm so excited to see your next chapter. I'm so excited for y'all to finally hear. It's been since May, y'all. We've been talking about it. It's Weird Outside. Stream it on all DSPs.
All DSPs.
Buy it. Buy the album.
Yo, you got an iPhone. There's no reason for you not to buy my album, dog.
Shout out to Apple Music.
There's no reason.
We're so happy to have you guys here today.
You got Amazon?
Listen,
there's no reason for you to not buy my album.
Quis,
it's on Amazon.
Quis, judgmental.
No, I'm just trying to let them know where they can get it, yo.
Thank y'all for joining us for this intimate conversation. Yeah, leave them with a word.
One more thing. I just want to thank everybody who's been a part of this process. So I want to say it by name. Shouts to Drew from Easy Street Productions, my great engineer who makes me sound crisp and beautiful. Shouts to Tay Melody for Spliff Beats. Thank you, because this album's not possible without you. You literally produced like 98% of the album. If there's 23 tracks on there, I want to say you produced 19 or 20 of them. Session, always, thank you. You know why. We'll talk. Anybody that's been a part of it, so Session, Big Mike for your feature and your verse, Shawnee for all your background vocals and parts that you added. Shawnee's also on the next album because we probably did about 7 or 8 songs together and they all aren't on here. But yeah, Lotus as always, my sister, I love you. Tay, thank you. Tay Lene, not Tay Melody at this point. Too many Tays. Thank you for everything that you did to contribute to this album as far as giving me your opinion and listening to things, sitting in sessions, all that, getting me food while I'm in sessions, all that. All my voice note people and who's been added to the project, thank you for your contributions, but also thank you for conversations that, like, I sent you random songs at different points. And for the people that I wrote about, my muses, some of you are in really good standing with me.
Some of you are not.
Glad she said it.
Some of you are not.
But you still influence some great music, man. That's what I'm saying. I'm going to pull a great song out of your bullshit. So, yeah, that's it. I just want to make sure I thank Marco. Yeah, I don't want to take too long. And my little sister.
Shout out to Peaches.
Peaches, thank you. Because Peaches has been
thank you for this couch.
Peaches, where my sister's place shooting this, but also Peaches hits me up like every month, like, so your album's still not out? Are you a real rapper? Do you really do music? Like, she trolls me. So thank you for the motivation. And yeah, man. And Jeff, thank you to you, brother, for helping me put this video together. All right, I'm done.
Shout out to this couch session with the amazing, incredible...
Thank you, Teresa!
Oh my God, please.
How did I forget?
Oh my God, please.
Thank you for making time to want to come talk to me about this.
No, of course. No, thank you for being an incredible friend, a patient friend. Shout out to Hancock Street. That's a behind the scenes tidbit. Y'all, we will see you guys on the other side. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.
You gotta do ghetto rapper shit at the end of your video.
No, you don't.
You
Keep that part in.
You gotta do ghetto rapper shit. That was cool.
Culture. Authentic Quis. Culture. Big Session. Culture. Black Prez. Culture. What up? They sayin' I'm too flashy for 'em. Culture. My swag is such a hazard on 'em. Culture. On the low they try to borrow that. Culture. They get mad when we holler back. Culture. Must be such a privilege. Culture. To go and reap the benefits.